Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
Welcome to the Fantasy Meatballers podcast. We have a good one here for you today. Got my co-host Ray, and we're about to break it down. The most important week in many of our seasons. It's round one of the playoffs. We have a lot to unpack here, Ray. How are you feeling?
Dude, I'm happy. I made it in both leagues. That's obviously like a really good feeling. I had a close matchup at the end of the week. I beat out Ben by 0.85 points. The idea or the importance behind this matchup is for winning that. I had a good shot, or I believe that I have a good shot if I'm going to be playing first round. And I don't want to go against the reigning champ first round. So Ben's got the reigning champ first round. But yeah, I'm super excited. Happy, like I said, made it in both playoffs. I think I'm the fourth seed in this playoff bracket, and then in my other league, I'm the 1 seed, which is a good thing. But there's only 2 rounds. It's this basically in the semifinals now, and then the championship. So
yeah. So you feeling confident about that one too?
Pretty confident. The team that I'm going to be playing against, he's got a pretty good team. His position of weakness, I think, is running back. For sure, especially if DeAndre Swift sits out again. But, I need Herbert to have a big bounce-back game. Same with Keenan Allen. I need that. And I need Derrick Henry to fall into the end zone a couple times. He's got Jacksonville this week, so hoping for a 200-yard game like he's done in the past. I think that'll help me out a lot.
Yeah, I think the Derrick Henry thing, this might be a Derrick Henry week. He's not want to stay quiet 2 in a row, and I mean, it's the Jaguars. They might get out of hand pretty quick. So, speaking of running back, though, and hurting at running back, that's pretty much the epitome of my life right now.
Yeah,
oh, my gosh. I was saved by J.K. Dobbins last night just to get a win out, because I didn't know if, in our league, if I had lost and not gone to 9-4 and stayed 8-5, I didn't want it to come down to, I think, what it would have been, which it would have been between me, you, and Ben on who had total points.
Yep.
I think.
Yeah.
And my last 2 weeks, I'm plummeting. The stock is, hitting the ground, dude. I'm not feeling good about my team going to the playoffs, to be honest. You've seen the things I've had going on, like Will Fuller.
Miles Sanders' usage is just completely down the drain. Yeah. When I made that trade, I thought the mindset was right. Good playoff schedule, but when I made the trade, the whole season seemed like it was salvageable for the Eagles, and now that it's a circus over there, man. And I'm even considering if I'm able to scrape by with a Ty Johnson next week, or for week 15 because I'm on bye. But I'm basically risking it. I would probably rather play these waiver guys who could maybe put up 15. If I get 2 of those in my lineup in the playoffs, at least I avoid the Sanders bomb of 3 points. You cannot win. Right. So are you going to be benching Sanders moving forward? Do you think that with the QB change, which I don't agree with, I know me and you disagree with that. Disagree with each other on that. So do you think that you'll pivot away from Sanders, or do you want to see what he does against the Saints? I mean, the Saints is a tough matchup, but it'll have Arizona coming out.
Yeah. I mean, look, if I had a game this week, which I don't.
Oh, big, strong man, fancy new whatever.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just the best here. Obviously, that's why my team puts up 90, 100 points the past 2 weeks, because I know everything. I am so fortunate that I have a bye to see what the heck this offense looks like.
Yeah.
And maybe make a decision. But I think what it's going to be is 65 to 75% of snaps for Sanders. You saw what was going on against the Packers. More Jordan Howard than ever. And you got Boston Scott. I'm sorry. I don't care how talented Miles Sanders is. I have 1 week to stay alive. There is no next week. And if he doesn't give me the best chance to win based on what they do with him, with Jalen against the Saints, I have to bench him. I don't have a choice. I need consistency and a ceiling, and he has none right now. His highest game was against the Steelers, maybe,
Yeah,
and that was like
that's
off
right.
of a 70-yard run. They still weren't using him correctly when he was doing well. So I think that's a message to anyone out there who has a Miles Sanders. Doesn't matter how talented he is. Doesn't matter how cool his visor and his chain and his long sleeves can be. If Doug isn't calling plays for him, don't put your season on the line for that.
Yeah. So now I don't think that your running back 2 is on your team right now. I think that
Right.
J.K. Dobbins is going to be the starter.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that. That's your running back 1 moving forward. Depending on what the usage is, I don't see you playing Miles Sanders like you just discussed. Who are you targeting on waivers? Because I see a guy that I like, and I want to hear from you first before I chime in.
My claims, I have, here, I'll tell you right now. Well, first of all, I have Joe Mixon, so.
Yeah, that's also helpful, too, if he comes back. But
Yeah.
tough
He's
from
out
injury
this
coming
week
back.
against the Cowboys, which I don't mind. To answer your question, and I know I'm not going to get him because we're having this conversation right now. I hate doing this.
I'm not. I don't have any claim. I have one claim for one player. That's it.
I know it's who I would need, but I'm not going to tell you the order of my claims. But I have Jeff Wilson in case Mostert goes down. He's a high upside guy, and that's what I need at this point. Dart throws. Ty Johnson. It's going to take Frank Gore being out till week 15, so I'm not really sure if he's going to come around. Cam Akers.
There it is.
And I know that's who you're thinking about.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a dream if I were able to get him, but I know I'm not, because even you just being one spot ahead of me, which I think you are, is enough. And then T.Y. Hilton, I think him and Rivers are building a nice little rapport there.
Yeah.
So I don't really need him, knock on wood, but I'll take another receiver for depth because I just dropped Alan Lazard because he's not getting any real big boom games with what Devontae's doing. He's just eating up all the targets.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have Akers as your number one guy.
Yeah, out of the options, I mean, I know you could possibly throw in Peyton Barber in there, depending on what the injury looks like for Antonio Gibson. I think that's more of a goal line thing, though, not necessarily like, hey, he's going to be the starter. I think McKissick gets a bigger workload, but Barber might fall into the end zone. Yeah, Barber might fall into the end zone a couple times, but
if this lingers for Gibson.
Yeah, I think he's out. I 100% think he's not playing. But the reason why I bring up Akers, and you're in a good position to have Akers, because he's got New England this week, and they play on Thursday night. You don't need to see that just because you'll be on the bye. So if you pick him up and claim him, and your claim goes through, which again, I don't have him as my roster claim. I don't have him in either of my leagues. But if you were to pick him up, sit him against New England, doesn't matter. You don't have to worry about that. But after that, then he's got the Jets. That's a pretty good matchup. And it's at home. That's a plus matchup for Cam Akers. So I think you'd be able to see, depending on what the workload looks like, I think what we'll see if the Rams fall behind or whatever Bill Belichick schemes around him, you'll probably see Darrell Henderson a little bit more. If you don't get him on waivers, maybe someone will get frustrated and be like, all right, well, I don't need this guy. I'm going to drop him. That's when your chance is to swoop in. But against the Jets, 21 carries this past week, I like that.
What else? Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, that's why I like Ty Johnson, 22 carries.
Yeah.
It's the same logic, and we see this every year. Like, the playoffs happen, and there's guys in the lineups that you're just like, this guy was a nobody at the beginning of the year. So you got to be agile, like you said, and you definitely, hit the nail on the head. Like, just watch how it plays out. Tomorrow they play. Maybe Henderson gets more of the workload because Akers got banged up, and then people might give up on him.
Yeah, exactly.
But hold on to him because he's the most talented guy by far. Youngest legs, they might ride him at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think they're moving away from Henderson himself. He had 3 carries this past week. That shows me they're transitioning to the okay, we're going to give Cam Akers a bigger role. Maybe they were saving him to this point into the playoffs as they run through.
It happens.
Yeah.
You see Antonio Gibson, same thing.
Yeah, exactly. Late bloomer, that's fine.
Right. That happens every year.
Yeah, so I'll do my claim, one waiver claim that I have. I was watching the game last night, and I was stunned that before the game even happened that he was dropped. CeeDee Lamb's on waivers. I don't understand why he's on waivers, man. I saw that go through, and I was astonished.
All right. I'll make the case against CD though.
Okay, let me hear it then.
Would you say that was probably Andy Dalton's best game as a quarterback for the Cowboys.
For the Cowboys, I would think so. Yeah, thought he had a pretty good game. It's got Cincinnati next week.
I see. I had the thought process right. I was like, oh my God, Nick dropped CeeDee Lamb, and I saw that whenever it was Thursday, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna pick him up. I don't see this guy having any potential to be in my lineup because maybe he catches that touchdown last night, right? Like the bomb, and his numbers are in the 20s.
There was a bomb. There was a pass interference on a deep route that wasn't called.
Right, and he has a pretty soft playoff schedule, but I'm having a hard time believing in that passing offense enough with all those pieces. You got Gallup, you got Schultz, you got Cooper. It's just a lot of risk for me in my playoff lineup because even in a great game, 6 receptions, 46 yards, he's touchdown dependent. And I look at your roster and I'm like, Michael Thomas isn't getting benched in the playoffs. Chris Godwin, when he's healthy, probably isn't. But their playoff schedule's way better than the Cowboys. And who's your wide receiver 2 right now?
Deontay Johnson. So I'm going Michael Thomas, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin. The one thing that I'm worried about is now, as we've seen in the past, this past couple weeks, COVID situations. Somebody comes up, I need to have a pivot. I need to have somebody that I can pivot to where I'm not going to be dropping in talent, where I'm like, hey, I just lost Michael Thomas because COVID. Now my best option is KJ Hamler on the Broncos. That's not what I want to do. It's not how I want to set myself up to succeed in the playoffs as they go forward.
You could do worse than having CeeDee Lamb on your bench. As I didn't see it in that way, and that's a good point.
Yeah.
I just was seeing it he's never going to play for you, but this year's been crazy, and there might just be a week where the game isn't played.
Yeah.
And you're just stuck with you're twiddling your thumbs over there. So I think that prioritizes T.Y. Hilton for me at least. So that's good that you shared that.
Yeah, definitely. So real quick, this is a concern that I have as we start to dive into our lineups or as the playoff evaluations. We're going to be introducing a new segment. We're going to evaluate each team first round of the playoffs. So there's 4 teams. Yeah. We're going to start with myself. I faced Massetti this week. 2 positions that I'm actually pretty worried about. I made this trade. I wanted to get Lamar Jackson for Lamar Jackson's playoff schedule. I saw Josh Allen's schedule in the first week. He's going against Pittsburgh. Lamar Jackson is going against Cleveland, the 25th ranked defense, or the 25th ranked matchup for Lamar. And Josh Allen's at Pittsburgh. Something that I do want to monitor is the weather situation. Upstate New York, it's going to be a little colder. It might be a little snowy. I'm very, very worried if I'm going to roll the dice and play Josh Allen. I know that there's injuries on the Steelers' defense, which I kind of do like to see. We're also worried in the fact that John Brown might be out. Cole Beasley is stepping up, which I really respect, but that's something that I'm a little worried about. The other thing that I'm worried about, Kareem Hunt as my running back 2. I already told you who I'm putting as my flex, my 2 starting wide receivers. I wish by some miracle I say, but by some chance that all the running backs on the Niners get COVID and they say yo Debo, we're gonna line you up at wide receiver, we're gonna line you up at running back, and then the ESPN switches it really quick. But
it might not be out of the equation this year.
Yeah, who knows, right? So I rolled the dice on Booker. I thought he had a good matchup against the Jets. He had 6 points. That's not the production that I want out of a running back 2. Now there's talk that Josh Jacobs could practice today. He could be back for this week. He still has a very difficult matchup against the Colts. I'm rolling with Nick Chubb as my running back 1, and I don't know what to do with my running back 2. Am I rolling the dice on Kareem? What am I doing here?
Okay. All right, so let's start with that quarterback.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, he's absolutely balling. Does not matter who this guy goes up against. He just puts up points. On the other hand, it's still the Steelers, man. It's really a gutsy play to just look straight down at that number 1 ranking and be like, you know what? I have confidence. You've seen Josh Allen's floor against New England, 14 points.
Yep, that's exactly what I am worried about.
If I was in your position, look what just happened. Look what just happened to Cleveland. They just went into Tennessee. I don't care that they scored 40 points. They gave up 35. So they are actually a pass funnel. They have a decent enough run defense where teams just go through the air. Now, it's kind of their strength the run stop is Baltimore's strength, which is the run game.
Yeah.
260 yards last night. So it's like, what are you betting on in that game? Are you betting on the Ravens to run the ball when they have the opportunity to pass against, like, the Browns' pass defense is like bottom 10 in the league.
Yeah, outside of Denzel Ward, when he's out, that's it.
And I was looking into how they do against tight ends, because I was thinking about like my DFS team, and I was really loving Mark Andrews this week because next to the Jets, who have given up 11 touchdowns to the tight end, the Browns have given up 9.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm thinking Andrews comes back. Lamar has his probably favorite target, and that game is, I see passing in that game where I really, I see passing in Josh Allen too, but is it going to be efficient passing? You have opportunity for him to throw the ball a lot because maybe they're down, or maybe, but he's throwing against Minka Fitzpatrick, like these tough, like,
yeah,
like even though the Browns have names in their defense, their pass defense hasn't been that strong. So for me, maybe I'm not starting Lamar next week, but for this week, I would probably go with Lamar.
Yeah, and that's definitely what I was leaning towards. And as you brought it up, Mark Andrews, last time he played Cleveland, Week 1, 5 catches, 58 yards, 2 touchdowns. So that's a good point to bring up. To me last night when I was watching the game, I was saying to myself, this is Lamar's audition game to me. Like, is this where I'm gonna really feel confident wanting to pivot back and forth? And I did feel confident. I mean, look, he had 107 passing yards. That's not great. 2 touchdowns, that's better. But 13.
No reason to throw against the Cowboys.
Yeah, right. And he has 94 rushing yards and a touchdown. You saw that 37-yard run. That was as soon as he did that and he started celebrating a little early, that got me excited. I was like, that's the Lamar that I wanted to see. That's what I want to see.
2019 Lamar. That's the MVP Lamar. So let's talk about that running back 2 spot for you. That's tough because if you play Lamar, you cannot play Chubb and Hunt, I don't think. Because if you're betting on Lamar to have this high ceiling, passing enough, and they're winning, you're gonna be counteracting like your running backs on the Browns, because are they gonna be running the ball that much if Lamar's doing well?
True.
Probably not. Enough to start. I think Chubb, he's your stud. You can't bench him, but you just have to know that your Kareem Hunt, like, he's probably not, unless the game totally flips on its head. It's probably not going to be 20 points out of both of them. But who do you look at your lineup? Is it James White? No, because you're not going to put a guy out there on a Thursday who just came off 3.1. Josh Jacobs, obviously that's a tough matchup against Indy, but I would just get out of that Baltimore-Cleveland game and just say, look, the Baltimore-Indy game, Indy's defense has been a little overrated, I think, recently. You've been able to run. Look what Derrick Henry did to them 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a 50-point over/under. There's going to be scores, and there's only so many points going to be scored in that Baltimore game. I don't think it's probably in the 45s, that over/under. So, what is Jacobs? Is he is he coming back? Like, what's good with him?
Currently, it says that he's questionable. The injury report is that he did not practice today, Wednesday. Did not practice with the ankle injury. Gruden said that he was pessimistic about his chances suiting up Sunday against the Colts, but I'm a little worried that I'm going to be throwing out a hobbled Josh Jacobs out there, and
which Josh Jacobs are you going to get?
Exactly. Is he going to get taken out for the goal line carries and they throw in Devontae Booker? I'm not playing Devontae Booker right now. What I'm gonna do is monitor the running back situation with the Raiders, see if he practices. And if there's a guy, I'm going to pivot from the running backs that we talked about earlier. If there's a running back that I'm going to try and go for, this is another thing I'm going to monitor. DeAndre Swift. Is he playing? Is he not playing? If he is not, AP, I'm playing AP. I'm going to seriously consider picking up Adrian Peterson off our waivers, and I'm going to consider playing him. Because at the end of the day, he's going to get those goal line carries.
Goal line carries, bro.
That's what matters.
Last week.
Yeah, two touchdowns, 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row, he's fell into the end zone twice. So it's not the yardage that I'm worried about. 15 carries, 55 yards. 16 carries, 57 yards. The volume's there. The end zone, red zone looks. That's what I need out of my running back. So
yeah, you're not gonna get 2 touchdowns out of Kareem Hunt, and then it not negatively affects your Nick Chubb. So
yeah.
I think that's a perfect move for you, and then just dump him after that because, I mean, he's got in week 15 he's got Tennessee AP, and then he's got Tampa Bay. You're not going to start him in championship week against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, no. And at that point, I would hope Josh Jacobs is back healthy.
Right.
His situation clears up a little bit better.
And I think like for you, like you don't. I think your running back matchups are pretty safe because I don't see the Bucks running the ball a lot. Because I think that's going to be a back and forth game with the Vikings. So I don't see Ronald Jones having a huge day. I think you should have an edge in the running back position, at least on Nick, especially with Wayne Gallman. I thought, he's not even starting Ronald Jones. Maybe he'll adjust that. But I think this is a situation where Nick has a lot of choices and it's going to be tough. So, it might be one of those situations where it's just too many players to pick from and you just overthink it. I don't hope that happens, but I know that happens to me. But yours is pretty cut and dry. It's like, I got to go Chubb and then figure something out.
Yeah, definitely. And then as we start pivoting away from my team, we'll look at Massetti's team. He has so his quarterbacks this week, his quarterback and his running back, I think, are going to be solid. He's got Chris Carson. He's got Russell Wilson playing the Jets this week. The Giants upset the Seahawks last week. I think that's going to put a sour taste in their mouth. I think that's going to be their wake-up call. I think the defense is going to be playing very, very well, considering this is Jamal Adams' revenge game. I know you don't believe in that narrative a whole lot. I do. I think certain players do have good games against their previous teams. A team he's got DeAndre Hopkins. James Bradbury is looking like a true lockdown corner that is very, very underrated and not talked about enough. So I think he's going to shadow DeAndre. We talked about this before we started recording. Arizona's traveling up to New York. It's going to be cold. It's going to be, the weather's going to be a factor. Kyler Murray's not looking 100%. Maybe that shoulder hit, or that hit that he got on his shoulder, I think was against San Francisco, that might have hurt him a little bit. Yeah. That might have lingered a lot. So that's something that I'm going to monitor. And then Amari Cooper, that's another position that, as Andy Dalton starts to get a little bit more acclimated to the offense, Amari Cooper's still the number one wide receiver. He's getting the looks. He's not wowing you in terms of like what the announcers are talking about, but 6 for 112, then 5 for 43, and a touchdown. So
basically, your flexes are probably a wash. Like Cooper and Godwin are probably around that 18-point mark. So you just have to do that for each position and be like, where can I beat him? So like Russ and Lamar, I think, are pretty comparable this week.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the Jets. Russ has not looked the same overall the past 4 games. 12, 22, 16, 17. Maybe this is the bounce back. But the good thing for you is that he has Chris Carson. It's not like he has Russ and Lockett, Russ and DK. If he wants, if he needs Carson to do well, it's taking away from Russ. Unless Russ is throwing all screen touchdowns to Carson, which isn't usually how it goes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So you have that going for you. If he winds up playing Gallman, sure, Gallman is good for 13 to 20. Then you could beat him with AP probably or match that. Hopkins and Thomas. Hopkins is kind of falling off, hasn't he?
Yeah, he he's not having the
just like as Kyler goes.
Yep, as Kyler goes, so does Hopkins. But that's a player you're not going to bench. You're not going to bench Hopkins. No. I don't think that's out of the question. Hopkins this past week, he had 8 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown. 2 weeks prior against New England, Stephon Gilmore, 5 catches, 55 yards. Seattle, which is kind of interesting, 5 catches, 51 yards. Trey White, he exposed. He had a very good game, but I think that was saved with the Hail Mary touchdown.
Right.
So his stat line obviously looked a lot better than it actually might have been.
Yeah.
And then the week before that is 3 catches for 30 yards against Miami. So against true number 1 corners, I do like the chances that I have with DeAndre not
performing
30 points a game or 26 points a game or for this matchup. So that's not something that I'm too worried about. But if he falls into the end zone, if he has 4 for 45 and a touchdown, I'm not going to beat myself up over that. That'd be something I'd be like, okay, yeah, that's something that I would expect.
You take that. Yeah, you take that every day of the week with him. I think a wild card here is McLaurin, really.
Yeah. That's actually a good point too.
However, you kind of match a McLaurin. Like, I really don't know a player more of that build than Deontay Johnson, where it's like either nothing or 10 targets, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So I think Nick's got to get rid of Dolphins defense when he checks his lineup, obviously, against KC.
Oh, I didn't even think of that. Yeah.
I think you have an edge this week with Hunter Henry. Atlanta also very, very bad against the tight end. And I think that's the Chargers are going to, I see like at least 3 touchdowns for Herbert this week, and maybe he catches one of those. So overall, pretty good matchup, pretty even across the board, but I'm biased, but I'll take you in this one.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the support there.
Yeah. I'm not known to be a mush on this podcast anyway, right? So, let's talk about this next one real quick.
Yeah.
We got Ben against the 2-time defending champion, Amy. A lot to unpack here on both sides. I know for me, I'm taking Amy in this one, as it is on Wednesday. I don't know how Ben's lineup's going to play out with Jonnu and maybe McCaffrey, but I will say this: Ben might be saved this week by Tampa and the Vikings being sort of shootout.
Yeah.
Might be the highest over/under of the week. That could be a game where Dalvin maybe puts up his 15 to 20 and not his 50 that like he's done in the past. But Devontae's going to get his. That's just going to be too easy for Rodgers against Detroit. And I think she's got a wedge Mark Andrews in her lineup. Maybe she starts 2 tight ends because Hawkinson's been putting up points, but I like Mike Williams, so I would keep him in there.
Yeah, so just as we go through Amy's full team, she's got Matt Ryan, Dalvin Cook, David Johnson, Devontae Adams, Allen Robinson. Currently in her tight end spot is TJ Hawkinson, and then Mike Williams. On her bench, she does have Mark Andrews. Maybe she'll go back and forth. I don't think that she would switch out Mike Williams. I think he does have a plus matchup against Atlanta. The one thing that I can maybe see her being a weakness is David Johnson, but I don't think she has a running back on her team that she can pivot to. Devontae Adams, if Tampa Bay gets off to a hot start, I think that Kirk Cousins is going to have to throw it to Justin Jefferson or Adam Thielen. I don't think that Dalvin Cook is going to get super involved in the passing game unless they throw a screen every now and again. But the Tampa Bay's linebackers, they rested. And I think that was the key for Tampa Bay. They needed this bye week, man. The offense looked rough, and they looked like they just looked tired. So I think this bye week came at a perfect time for Tampa so they can rest and get their players. Now, personally, I like Ben's team in this matchup. I really do.
Yeah.
The number 1 guy is the number 1 overall pick, Christian McCaffrey. DJ Moore is a close contact with COVID. There's a chance he does not play. The other close contact, Curtis Samuel. That means that there's going to be a lot of targets that are going to be vacated. Yeah. So I think it's going to go right to CMC. He's practicing. He's going against Denver. He's at home. I think that's when he has his good game. Kyler Murray, this quarterback position, we'll see. I mean, that's kind of like he's not a sure shot, but I don't think that Ben could bench Kyler in favor of Tom Brady. I don't see that. I don't see there's a logical choice for that. I think he has to roll with Kyler.
I would argue that.
Really?
I would say, right now I would say that, look, we're looking at this, as the end of existence. This game means everything. Who's the better defense, right? Is it the Giants, who are doing very well, who, the Seahawks under Bay? You just talked about how James Bradbury stepped up this year. I don't see how Tom Brady doesn't have a good game against Minnesota. I might have said another game before this, but no, I think that is the highest over-under of the week. Their implied team total based on the over-under is 27, 28 points. So that's looking to me like a 2 to 3 touchdown game for Brady. I think we're going to look back at this in a week and say, maybe it didn't come down to that for Ben, but Tom Brady probably outscores Kyler Murray, I think.
Wow.
That's my maybe bold take.
That's a pretty bold take. And then Ben's running back too. He's got Ezekiel Elliott. I still don't understand his logic behind that trade. He had a pretty decent game this past week. He didn't fall into the end zone, but three carries on the 2-yard line. I'm sweating bullets, man. Like, I'm watching this game last night. I'm like,
That's
damn.
your game on the line.
Yeah, and this is where, like, this is make or break, man. Like, I don't need him to score here. And then, thankfully, Baltimore's defense came through. However, he's going against Cincinnati. They're not stopping that. I don't think that they have the defense to stop something like that. So, if they get the ball moving, Andy Dalton revenge game, right? Like, this is Andy Dalton's return, right? I'm not saying to play him at all, but I'm saying I think that this game, I think Dallas is going to win this game.
His pieces will do enough. Yeah, man, I just, that was like the best we've seen of Zeke in a few weeks last night, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah.
You still had Tony Pollard out there. You still had these, moments where Zeke would, like you said, get stuffed on the goal line, and you're like, dude, what the hell? Like, you're right. You're so close. Like, you're right. This is every week with him. It's just continue to be disappointment.
Yeah, and see, you know what? Before you continue, there's one thing that I kind of am noticing. Like, maybe it's because everybody's playing bad in the NFC East, but it's interesting to me that Carson's been very inconsistent this year. I think that's no secret. It's obviously no secret. But what about the inconsistency behind Zeke? They just shoveled this guy a huge contract last year, and now he's splitting carries with Tony Pollard. Why? Where's the media attention on that? Like, is that like? Yeah. But and then people can say like, oh, he's got no offensive line. Carson doesn't have an offensive line, but he's getting bullets shot at him, man. So it's kind of interesting when. You know what I mean? Like maybe
the money is there.
The money is there, and it's like, wow,
that's a huge investment. I get what you mean. Yeah. But I think it's always going to be more on quarterbacks.
Yeah,
it's just always going to be the pressure's there. That's what makes people keep the TV on. That's what gets the headlines. But I think if we were in Dallas right now and we were living in Texas and listening to their radio, they got to be so, disappointed. Like, Zeke should be talented enough to make do with whatever the situation is. He got paid to be a generational talent. Like, if you put Dalvin Cook in that situation, they're probably equally paid, and Dalvin Cook is doing way better. So I know that, like, they got to be hurting. And they are just as screwed with their salary cap situation. They should have kept Byron Jones. They should not have signed Zeke. They should have just rolled with Tony Pollard. Running back is not a position you need to overpay anymore.
It's not. It's absolutely not. It's not. There's other positions in need, and we see it, right? That defense is struggling. They have 2 star linebackers, and it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't even matter. Like DeMarcus Lawrence, where's he been the past couple of weeks? Like, or this whole season? He hasn't been a huge game changer this year. Leighton Vander Esch, Jalen Smith. I think Jalen Smith's a lot better, but I think that they're a great 1-2 punch. But corner and safety, they're hurting. They're hurting.
I think that defense is just playing to, like, get the year over with. They're not trying to get hurt. Like, they're like, all right, well, I'm trying to get out of here alive, and there's no hope for them. But if I'm Ben, I'm not playing Zeke. I'm not putting my playoff chances on the line of a guy who has a 15-point ceiling. I don't care. Jonathan Taylor had a 20-point week last week. Like you said, with Cam Akers and with Antonio Gibson, this is where you might see them unleash these young guys that they've been holding back. And again, against Vegas, it's going to be a high over-under indoor game. I think there's a lot of scoring, and I want a piece of that game if I'm Ben. And I don't want a piece of a game in Baltimore or in Cincinnati, with the Cowboys where there might be 20 total points scored. Like, that's not out of the equation. These offenses are terrible. Like, you're gonna bet on Andy Dalton and Brandon Allen moving the ball back and forth. No, I'll take Carr and Phillip Rivers in a 55-point over-under. So I'm not starting Zeke in the playoffs, not just because I traded him away.
So before we dive into his flex position, so he has Myles Gaskin in his flex against Kansas City. I think that needs to be changed. I don't trust Kansas City to not put up. Or let me rephrase that. I think Kansas City is going to put up 4 touchdowns by the second quarter. And then there goes the run game for Tua. Like, he's not going to be running the ball. There goes the whole game plan. They can't establish the run when they're down 28-0. So I still play Zeke, but in my flex spot, I'm going back and forth between Jonathan Taylor, Corey Davis, or, and this is going to be a crazy one, Cole Beasley. That's a guy, those 3, that's who I would be going back and forth with. Because I can't trust Myles Gaskin in a matchup against Kansas City.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no way that you put, again, this is a playoffs. Like, you're betting on the absolute best team in the NFL to not succeed against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
I don't care that the Dolphins are playing well recently. Like, I'm not betting on that the game script is never going to exist for the Dolphins to be able to give Myles Gaskin the ball 25 times. Just not going to happen. I'm not putting him in my lineup. If I am Ben, I'm putting McCaffrey and Taylor. Zeke, you're gone. I do not care. Like, when it comes to Corey Davis or Cole Beasley, their reception totals could be more than Zeke's entire day. They could have 10, receptions each. I am not putting a third running back in my flex if I have Corey Davis, and I'm going with Corey Davis if I own him because, again, I over-under with Tennessee and Jacksonville. This could be a Derrick Henry day, but how can you bench a guy who just put up 11, 182, and 1?
Yeah.
And look at this. If he has a bad day, like say you want to say that's an outlier, go back to week 12. 3 for 70. That's 10 points. Do you think Myles Gaskin or Zeke puts up 10 to 15? There's your answer. That's their ceiling.
Yeah. And this past week, what Zeke have on points? He had the outlier game last night, 13.5. Last week, 2.9. The week before, 19.4. But 3 weeks prior, 8.9, 8.3, 6.1. So you're starting to convince me a little bit on whether or not to pivot on Zeke. I'm getting there. I'm like 60-40, yeah. Still 60 leaning towards Zeke, but yeah, I mean,
all you gotta do is look at the other side of the table here, man. It's like she has a bunch of ceiling players. Like,
yeah,
you cannot play floor players against a ceiling team. Dalvin Cook, he's been the number 1 running back how many weeks? Devontae Adams has been the number 1 receiver one time, but top 5 every other week, I think, except for a few. Allen Robinson, he's the top 5 potential type of guy. Mike Williams is a top 10 potential. Like, you can't play it safe if you're Ben here. Like, you have to go with your ceiling plays every single position.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting this first week, man. I think both matchups between mine and Nick's, Amy and Ben's, I think they're gonna be high scoring matchups, honestly. So everyone's got some good Jets in there, like some good opponents that it's going to be a high scoring week. I think like the magic number might be like 150. Like, what do you do to get your line up to that? And then I'll tell you what my prediction is. So I think that we have if you win, you play guards, right? Yep. That's not going to be fun.
Say no more. Like Watson, Henry, Robinson, Thielen, Metcalf, Waller, Keenan Allen. He's beatable, but if I'm putting money down, I'm taking guards all the way to the championship. And on my side, I'm going to stick to my guns and say that Amy beats Ben. Amy beats me because my team is just struggling. And then I'm going to put Amy in the championship and losing 2 guards. That's my pre-playoff prediction. Talk to me in 2 weeks when I probably beat Amy, and then I'll be thinking I can beat guards.
Yeah, man.
What do you think?
It's going to be interesting.
You're probably the complete opposite of me.
I think it's going to be Ben and guards in the championship. So I truly think that Ben takes care of Amy. I'm putting a lot of my eggs in one basket in CMC coming back. But when he did come back, that one surprise week, he had 37 points. So that's something. That 10 catches, 82 yards, and a touchdown. I think that they get him involved. I like that. I really do. I like my chances against Massetti this week. I think I'm going to beat Massetti. Next week, I don't think I'm going to beat Gars. Even when Gars has 2 stars players that don't score a lot of points. He had Derrick Henry had a horrible week this past week. Keenan Allen, the whole Chargers offense had a horrible week. 9.8 points out of Keenan Allen, 5.9 out of Derrick Henry. And he still put up 163 points.
That's my best week. Like, that is, I maybe hit 160 like 2 times this whole year. Like, that's just a normal day in Gars' world.
Yeah, dude. Like, that's
It's a hell of a team. It's just
That's a hell of a team. That's right.
Like, this is just one of those situations where you gotta hope like you get to week 16 and you're like, oh my god, I didn't realize like all his matchups are in the red, and then maybe he has a couple guys get shut down, but look, we're gonna give it our best. We're gonna give it our best college try here. We're gonna be confident. We're gonna put it all out there, try to win this thing. Hopefully bring it back to the footballers, the meatballers, and we'll see what happens, man. But 1 week at a time, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, as we're gonna wrap up, everyone have fun with the playoffs. If you made your playoffs, definitely congratulations. We look forward to that.
Long season.
Long season. You did it. Another thing, but actually, before we do close out, one thing that I do want to touch on: if you're upset you didn't make the playoffs, this is one thing that you got to do. You got to click your team on ESPN, right? Go into team info in the top right corner. If you see acquisitions and you see a low number, then the only person you can blame is yourself. Because we have a guy that was in the championship last year. He struck lightning. He made it to the championship. This year, he finished 4-9. That's like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. What did he do this year? He made 7 acquisitions the entire year. So that's ridiculous, man. Like if you're not gonna put effort into it and you're upset with yourself, like damn, why didn't I make the playoffs? Well, dude, look in the mirror. Like how many transactions did you make? Another guy that was 4-9 who tried, like he did everything that he could. He made 30 transactions and he did 2 trades. Jay also did 2 trades, but the transactions he didn't do anything. Let's look at the highest transaction total.
Even Amy, I'll give her credit. She put in 9.
Yeah, I'm shocked she even knows how to what app is the right app to choose from. But Paul, he's got the number 2 seed. He had 71 transactions. We know that's going to go up by tomorrow. Myself, I had. Excuse me.
You were the second highest, probably 35 or something.
I had 41. I was the second highest.
Okay.
So.
You gotta be agile, man. Like before we wrap up, like let me just prove this, right? So if I stuck with my team that I drafted, and I made 5 acquisitions, right? Do you think I'm gonna win the league with, an injured Dak Prescott, Zeke, Darrell Henderson, DJ Moore, Diggs, Kelsey, Cup, Cardinals defense, and Mason Crosby? Probably not, right? So. What was your week 1 lineup?
My week 1 lineup, I had, I didn't know I had him as my kicker. I had Josh Allen, I had Josh Jacobs, Mark Ingram as my running back 2, Michael Thomas,
gone.
Robert Woods, Evan Ingram, gone, Antonio Gibson, traded him, now he's hurt, the Chargers defense, and Dan Bailey.
Yeah, we won't even get into the bench, but the point is, like a lot happens throughout the year, a lot of injuries to starters, and rookies get more opportunities. And if you're listening to this and you're in the playoffs, you probably took advantage of that, and we appreciate that because we stalk waiver wires.
That's what we do.
It's disgusting, but we'll wrap it up. We wish you all the best of luck in the playoffs. For those who didn't make it, just pull up a chair and watch.
Yeah, now you can just enjoy football. Now it's time to just enjoy, sit back, watch football.
Not a bad thing.
Yeah,
it's not a bad thing. But let's watch some football. And good luck, everybody. We'll see you on Monday night, Tuesday.